When I was 17 years old, I stepped onto the ice for the very first professional show. At the time, I thought I knew exactly what my future looked like. I thought I would spend my career performing in ice shows around the world. And in many ways, I did. I first stepped onto inline skates when I was 10. A year later, I discovered ice skating. I fell in love with both. From 17, performing became my profession. I'm now 45 years old and I'm still performing today. For 28 years, skating has not simply been my career, it has been my life. I spent more than 20 years performing in professional ice shows. I worked from the ensemble to featured soloist, then moved into pair skating, and eventually became a principal pair skater. But my career also took me into very different worlds. 6 Got Talent productions across 5 countries, a featured acrobatic inline pair act with Cirque du Soleil, international corporate performances, coaching ice, inline and quad skaters, and eventually developing figure skating equipment through One Blades. At the time, those experiences felt like separate chapters, but they were not. They were quietly teaching me different parts of the same lesson. Ice shows taught me how major productions are built. Corporate events taught me that skating did not need an arena full of ice to captivate an audience. Coaching taught me to understand movement. Equipment development taught me how technical limitations shape creativity. For years, I thought I was changing direction. Looking back, I realized I was not changing direction at all. I was seeing a bigger picture, one piece at a time. Then came the experience that connected everything. On the Got Talent stages, I was not surrounded only by skaters. I was surrounded by singers, dancers, acrobats, magicians, aerialists, comedians, specialty acts, and us, an inline figure skating act. Every act stepped onto the same stage. Every act brought something completely different. One moment an aerialist, the next a singer, then dancers, then acrobats, then skating. And I realized something. The magic was not the acts. The magic was the contrast. That was when I started asking a question I've not been able to stop thinking about since. What if there were not separate acts anymore? What if, instead of sharing the same stage, they shared the same story? For years, the skating industry has tried to make skating possible without traditional ice. Synthetic ice was one attempt, and I know that world because I performed on it. I saw its potential, but I also saw its compromises. It solved one problem and created several others. That was when I realized we had been asking the wrong question. For years, the industry had asked, how do we recreate ice somewhere else? But perhaps that was never the real question. What happens when skating is no longer limited by its surface? The question changed everything for me, because suddenly I was not thinking about replacing ice. I was not thinking about better synthetic ice. I was not even thinking about inline figure skating. I was thinking about movement, because ice is not what audiences fall in love with. Movement is, emotion is, storytelling is, connection is. Nobody leaves a theatre saying, that frozen water was incredible. They remember the performance, the music, the emotion, the moment. And that changed how I saw skating. Ice, synthetic ice, inline, they were not completely different worlds. They were one movement language, spoken with different accents. And if skating was really a language, perhaps it had been limited by its surface all along. Skating has always been limited by its surface. What happens when you remove that limitation? Then everything connected. Every show, every television appearance, every corporate event, every cruise ship, every hour spent coaching, every piece of equipment, every success, every mistake. For the first time, I was not looking back at my career. I was looking forwards because I realized I had not been collecting experiences. I had been collecting pieces of a puzzle. and I was finally beginning to see the whole picture. When people first hear this idea, they often assume I'm talking about an inline skating show. I am not. I'm talking about something much bigger. The live productions people remember most are rarely built around one discipline. They are built around contrast, power followed by elegance, movement followed by stillness, a large ensemble followed by one performer alone. That contrast creates emotion, it creates anticipation, it keeps an audience wondering what is coming next. The ingredients already exist. Singers, dancers, acrobats, aerialists, musicians, specialty performers, and skaters. They simply have not been connected in this way before. Imagine a pair skating lift flowing naturally into an aerial sequence. The aerialist descends as dancers enter. The dancers transition into a skating ensemble. The music falls away, and one singer remains. No applause breaks, no separate acts, no starting again. One continuous experience. The future is not about adding skate entertainment or adding dancers to skating. It is about creating a new movement language. Skating becomes the thread that connects everything else. Each discipline contributes something different. Together they create an experience none of them can create alone. Inline figure skating matters because it removes one of the skating's oldest limitations, its independence on an ice rink. Suddenly skating is no longer limited to places where ice can be built. The question changes. We stop asking, where can we build an ice rink? And we begin asking, where can skating create an unforgettable experience? Maybe the future of skating was never about replacing ice. Maybe it was about removing limits, because once skating is no longer defined by its surface, it can finally become part of something much bigger. Not another skating show, a new category of live entertainment. When I look back across 28 years, I do not see an opportunity to build one more skating show. I see an opportunity to create something new, not because skating has changed, but because the world around it has. And perhaps it is time for skating to change as well, not by abandoning its past, but by building on it. Everything I have learned came from ice. Everything I am proposing exists because of ice. This is not about replacing it. It is about asking, what comes next? Because once skating is no longer defined by its surface, it can finally be defined by its imagination. An imagination has no rink. I do not believe one person builds something like this. Ideas become real when the right people choose to build together. Producers, creative directors, writers, designers, choreographers, performers, engineers, investors, and venues. Each sees something different, and that is exactly what this idea needs. I do not know what the first production should be. Perhaps an arena production, perhaps a resident theatre show, a cruise production, a theme park experience, a dinner show. I am not standing here saying I have already built it. I am standing here saying I think we have found it. A possibility, a direction, a category that does not exist yet. Every great entertainment category began with familiar pieces being connected in a different way. The pieces were not new, the picture was. Maybe that is where we are now. If you are watching this and something inside you is saying, this could work, then I would like to have a conversation. Not because I have all the answers, because the strongest ideas are built together. I've spent almost my entire life discovering this idea without realizing it. Perhaps you are one of the people who helps bring it to life. I do not think we are looking at the future of inline figure skating. I think we are looking at the future of skating entertainment. Skating has always been limited by its surface. What happens when you remove that limitation?